With all the changes that's going on in Hollywood, a lot of people are concerned that the filmmaking industry is dead. Well, guess what? It's not. Hi, I'm Robert Hollywood Gobelet. I'm a professional independent filmmaker, and I've been in the industry professionally since 2014. The filmmaking industry is not dead, but it's definitely not what it used to be, and it's never, ever going to be the same ever again, and that's what I want to talk about for just a couple of seconds. You see, years ago, like if we travel back in time, years ago, everybody all watched the same content that was coming in from the same sources. You only had three major networks. You had ABC, NBC, and CBS, and that was the three major networks that you were getting all your content to. But by the 1980s, 1990s, you had over 70 live broadcast channels because of cable television, Dish Network, DirecTV. That's not including specialty channels that be showing reruns or licensed programming like HBO or something like that. But that all meant one thing. That was that advertisers had to fight for our attention. A 30-second commercial during a hit TV show like Must See TV, a commercial or an ad on a show like Seinfeld or Friends or Cheers or ER, that was like gold. Studios were making money, man. And because advertising was funding everything, and that means the cast, the crew, the locations, makeup department, post-production, editing, even marketing, everything was being paid for by the advertising dollars. But if you fast forward to today's market and what's going on, we're not all watching the same thing anymore. We're not being fed the same stuff from the same sources. We're all watching our own things fed to us by custom algorithms. Even on streaming platforms, we can pick what we want to watch, when we want to watch, and how we want to watch them. You can watch a movie on your phone now. You can watch it on your tablet, on your iPad, on your iPod. You can watch a thing on television. You can watch it on your laptop, your desktop. Things have changed. And there's over 200 different streaming platforms and services out there. There's over 51 million YouTube channels. There's more than 36.5 thousand Roku channels and 1.5 million TikTok creators. And there's over 350 live channels online right now as we speak. So we're no longer watching the same things. We're fragmented. We're no longer gathered around the same screen, getting the same stuff fed to us by the same sources. We're not watching the same shows anymore. This is not the days of MASH. We're in clusters. We're in niches. We're in bubbles. Even Tubi TV customizes its feature movies and shows that cater to our individual preferences based on what we want to watch. And that's what will pop up on the screen. And advertisers are no longer needing to spend this top dollar anymore. They've got options and lots of them. And that's why the value of a commercial slot has dropped drastically. That's why your favorite TV shows are sometimes getting canceled halfway through a season, and why even big studios are playing it safe and playing the defense. You and me, for $50, can advertise on Hulu TV right now. We can advertise our show or our business or anything and customize it to it, and the advertising dollar is cheaper than it ever was before. I watched this interview with the cast of Residential Alien, and they said the money just isn't there anymore. They're not making the advertising stuff. James Cameron said in an interview that studios can't afford to be making these $300 or $400 million movies anymore and expect to survive. A lot of them are filing for bankruptcy, and we're seeing the results right now. Right now, nearly 98% of union workers in Hollywood, in California, are currently completely out of work. Nobody's talking about that, but that's just the truth. And it's not because of the strikes or anything. That's just the reality. In Atlanta, the business is like 48% of union workers are no longer working. Studios are filing bankruptcy. Mergers are happening left and right, which you hear about like Paramount Plus and Skydance. Projects are being shelved and shut down daily on a daily basis because that's what's happening. Meanwhile, companies like corporations and stuff like that are building their own media team, filming stuff in-house, and they're no longer shooting it with big stuff. They're shooting it with cell phones. If you're an independent creator working on, corporate videos, real estate videos, training programs, they are no longer outsourcing these things. They're being filmed usually entirely in-house, produced in an office somewhere. I know that because that's what I did. I know because I've worked in a bunch. I filmed 150 commercials last year. It's not what you think. And honestly, the phone that's in your pocket, that's a portable movie studio, and they're only getting better. They're not outsourcing like they used to. They're doing in-house projects with their own employees. With cheap 4K cameras, free editing software, their stock music libraries, creators don't need orchestras to score their projects anymore or visual effects teams anymore. They have AI programs. Even Netflix started using AI to generate specific scenes because it saves time and it saves money. What used to take a team months to create something can now all be done by one person in a matter of hours with some of the software and programs that we have now, including AI. In fact, that Netflix show, they calculated that the scene that they wanted would have taken 6 months for a team of animators to make that one scene. And that means a salary for an entire team to make that one scene that one person was able to do with AI. So let's say that those 5 people were getting paid $10 an hour. for 40 hours a week. That's $2,000 a week. Times that by 4 weeks a month for 6 months. That's $48,000 that scene would have cost. And the truth is nobody's getting paid $10 an hour. In fact, the average hourly rate for a 3D animator is over $35 an hour. It's like $35.50. So you take that same math, 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, and et cetera, et cetera. For 6 months with that small team of 5 people animators, you're looking at $168,000 to produce. But in one day, AI was able to create the exact same thing by just one person. So even if you paid that person the same amount, like their average hourly rate, you pay them a little bit more, like $40 an hour, they still was able to create the entire scene for $240. A huge difference than what it would have been at $168,000. Things are changing. That's why the industry is moving and changing so fast. You're seeing these in-house products being created by their own teams and no longer outsourcing it. Within the next 5 years, filmmaking won't look anything like it does today, which is leaps and bounds from what it looked like just 5 years ago, which is even bigger leaps and bounds than what was 5 years before that. But here's the big twist. I don't want to give you just all bad news. Some of this is good news. And I know you're probably thinking, it's like, how is this good news? Because I'm not making the kind of money that I was used to. Studios are not, affording things. But the gatekeeping is different. The gatekeepers, they're losing their power because of this. You don't need studios' permission anymore. You don't need to get a big executive to beg for them to greenlight your film or your project or your ideas, your show or anything. All you need is a good story and the guts to tell it. You just need to be able to go out there and be willing to make something, even if it's, with what you have available in front of you. Yes, the market is saturated. There are millions of creators posting content every single day that you have to compete with, from YouTubers to TikTokers to micro-budget filmmakers. I'm one of them. Everyone has access to the same platforms that you do, which is a good thing. So yes, it's harder to stand out because of all the noise. Not because your work isn't good enough, but because there's simply just so much out there that is begging for people's attention. You're not just competing with other filmmakers anymore. You're competing with short-form content, viral trends, cat videos, influencers, 10-second memes, just so much stuff out there. The average person scrolls past hundreds of videos a day. And getting them to stop, click, and watch yours, well, that takes time. It takes real time. It takes effort, energy, strategy, marketing. And no, you're probably not going to make what you would have made 15, 20 years ago on a movie. In fact, because the market has changed and so saturated, it's different. See, back then, a solid indie film could sell, and you get DVD sales, you land cable deals, you get limited theatrical runs, and if you're picked up by a distributor, often you got paid a minimum guarantee up front. Now, most films on digital platforms like Tubi or Amazon or YouTube or something like that, you get paid by the stream. And that means that you're earning pennies instead of dollars, sometimes even fractions of pennies per view. So even if your film reaches tens of thousands of people, you might only bring in a few $100, and that's just a reality. It sucks. I know a lot of people are upset because, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you could make thousands of dollars, and you're just like, this is my career, and now you're being dropped down to hundreds, and it's true, and there's nothing we can do about that. Distribution, though, is no longer a locked door, so it's a good thing. You can get your film out there. You can build an audience directly, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, and you can keep creating without waiting for somebody's permission. So yes, in one sense, it's harder than ever before to be making a living at, but it's also easier and more possible than ever before. There are more opportunities than ever before to get your work seen by a larger audience. And thanks to the hunger for fresh content, because people are seeing and scrolling through so much every single day, channels are needing new voices, needing independent creators who are no longer waiting for a seat at the table, but who are building their own table. And those are the people who are getting the jobs. Those are the people who are getting hired. Those are the ones that are seeing the fruits. The rules have changed, but if you're a filmmaker, a content creator, a storyteller, this isn't your reason to quit. It's your reason to begin. Because the opportunity is out there. That's why A24 hired that YouTuber who's never touched film school his entire life, because he created something. So pick up a camera, write a script, shoot that scene, tell a story, because the future of films is being written by people like you and me. Anyway, so let's build something together. Create your tribe, create your group, create your community, because together we're going to see something change. We're having a revolution now. This is like the independent creators of the 60s and 70s who are coming away from the studios and are getting an opportunity to be able to make stuff. And like I said, they're no longer outsourcing the same kind of materials. I worked for this one corporation, and I started building their commercials and stuff like that, and I filmed 150 commercials in the last year, which sounds like a lot, but because they're posting daily or weekly onto social media platforms, they needed new content, they needed new commercials. And you might be thinking, Robert Gobelet, he's just rolling in it with his Rolls Royce and Ferrari because he did these 150 commercials. The truth, honest to God, is some of them only pay like $100 a piece, $150 a piece. So the market has changed. And I know some people right now are probably screaming, it's like, well, you've undervalued yourself. You're underselling yourself. My kit fees alone is $200, $350. I would never walk out the door for less than $5,000. But if you honestly talk to those people who are saying that, you find out how often they're working. They're only working like once, twice, maybe max 3 times a year tops. But, you know, again, take away one of those zeros because people aren't paying those fees anymore. They're just not. They're just not hiring those people. They'll hire somebody with a cell phone. They'll hire a 19-year-old who knows TikTok, who can edit on iMovie or CapCut. And that's the God's honest truth because I've seen it live. And so, yeah, I'm taking pennies on the dollar. But I work every single week. I have a new project or a new commercial or a new thing, and it's paying the bills, it's putting food on the table, it's paying the car, it's paying the mortgage. You know, it does all those things. So, yeah, you just got to be willing to take the hits. And that's the thing is there is a lot of changes, and it is going on. And so some people are upset because, again, the career where they're making bank on just small projects isn't there anymore. But the opportunity is greater than ever before. So by doing something like this, you can create your audience, you can connect to people, and you can build your sources and build your tribe and build your community. And together, when you show something, when you put something out there theatrically, or when you do a crowdfunding campaign or something like that, you've built your team, you've built your group, and those are the ones who are going to get you over the hump that lets you build on to the next thing. Anyway, so again, this is a good thing because it's destroying the gatekeepers of the people who are rich. And the people who, and I have tons of them that's like in the union and stuff like that, I get messages all the time. It's like, well, if you're only making that much, then consider that a hobby. You can't be living like that in LA. Every market's different. I live in Tennessee. I live in Linden, Tennessee, where the average household income by the U.S. Census said that the average household income in 2020 was only like $20,000 a year. Most people are making on average about $30,000 a year now because of inflation, and they're living not comfortably, but they're living a lifestyle based on that with 40 hours a week working at factories or plants and getting good paying jobs. And I know some of you are like, oh, well, that was, you know, like even in Nashville, that's poverty level, which it absolutely is poverty level. But at the same time, people are managing, people are living and stuff like that. And so when you do get $30, $40, $50,000 for doing your film and creating your content and living off your art, then you've got it made. Now, again, each thing is different. Each person and each market's different because LA and New York and Atlanta is different than Nashville and it's different than Linden. And so, again, everything's relative. But at the same time, because these people like, say, in LA or something like that want the $5,000 just to walk out the door or whatever, they're not getting the jobs while the folks like the kids, the YouTubers, the TikTokers, the kids with their cell phones, they're the ones getting the jobs. And it sucks in one way, but it's great in another. But anyway, so I know it's sad, but it's also exciting at the same time because anybody, you, me, anybody, your kids, we can all make something, create something, and be out there. You can all be the next Quentin Tarantino or the Kevin Smith. I'm not saying your movie is going to be that way. You may have to survive on a library of 10 or 15 films before you start seeing profit and stuff like that. But because the window is bigger than ever before and everybody has that same opportunity, you can get your stuff out there and you don't know what will be the next hit. You might be the next Hot Tua. You might be the next, Kevin Smith or your next viral trend, the next clip and the next. And so it will open up the opportunities and the doors that will provide for you. You have to do this because you love it. And the money and the time and the energy and stuff like that, the audience will come. But you got to do it because you love it, because that's what you want to do. This is supposed to be your career? Well, do your career. Nobody's going to sit here and pay you $1 million for your idea. You got to create something. Anyway, guys, that's all I got to say. I hope this has been somewhat motivational, inspirational, and I hope I gave you some hope. I hope I didn't just rain on your parade. But at the same time, I hope it really, really gave you that power to move forward and keep going. Anyway, guys, I'm very excited. Like I said, the industry's changing, and it'll never, ever be the same. But at the same time, it's also an opportunity for you and me and other creators to finally get an opportunity to do something and do something exciting. So anyway, pick up your camera, keep shooting, don't stop. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, a great week ahead. God bless you. Live with passion.